Hi everybody, welcome back to MindTap Accounting. We're going to be working on 12-1 today. Hopefully you've looked at the PowerPoint and see that we're talking about payroll, and that's something that affects a lot of you people because you're working. Even through the coronavirus, you're working. So it's probably a good thing at this point to kind of see how payroll is computed. Make sure you're not getting cheated or anything. So a lot of you guys, you clock in via a computer, and so everything has to be rounded. So even if you clock in at 7:54, if you think about rounding this to the nearest hour, the quarter hour, okay, so we're only going to be looking at either 8, 8:15, 8:30, or 8:45, 9, 9:15, so on, okay? So this will be rounded till 8 o'clock, and this will be rounded to 12 o'clock. Why did they have to punch out? They had to eat. And most people are hourly workers, do not get paid while they're eating. So this person worked from 8 to 12. How many hours is that? That's 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 4 hours. Then they worked again from 1 to 5. That's 4 more hours. So over here, we say that they worked 8 hours. Okay? So continuing down, 8 to 12, that's 4 hours. 1 to 5. Another 8 hours. All right. Same thing here. We have 8 hours. All right. Here's Thursday. Here's something that happens here. They work from 8 to 1, and that was 4 hours. 8 to 12, I'm sorry, and that was 4 hours. Then they worked from 1 to 5. That was another 4 hours. Okay, so they worked 8 hours regular. Okay, but then they worked from 6 to 9:30. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 3.5 hours overtime. So 3.5 would be 3.5, right? Okay, so they worked 8 regular hours and 3.5 overtime hours. All right, now here we go on here. Because they didn't work in the morning, these aren't going to be overtime hours in the evening because they're only working 8 hours. So 1 to 5, that's 4 hours, and 6 to 10, that's another 4 hours. So they only had 8 hours that particular day. Okay, let's go to the next day. They worked from 8 to 12, that's 4 hours. They worked 1 to 5. That was 8 hours. The next day, 8 to 12, but then they worked 1 to 6, so they worked an hour overtime. They worked 4 hours here and 5 hours here. So they worked 8 regular time hours and 1 overtime hour. And so we keep going down the line. I'm trying to speed things up a little bit for us here. These were 8 hours. Worked 8 hours here. All right. Now, this is a Saturday. For these people, working Saturday, because they've already worked 40 hours during the week, is all overtime. They work 10 to 1, so that's 3 hours, and that is overtime. Because they already worked their 40 hours that day, that week. All right. Then we start on Monday, so that's going to start a whole new work week, and they worked 8 hours. Okay. Then we add all these up from both columns, and they worked 88 regular. And I know you're saying, wait a minute, Miss Clark, that would be an 8 hours overtime. Well, we got this extra Monday in here that was part of a different week. So, and then the overtime was equal to 7.5 hours, and we will grade it. And everything is right here. So we will go on to the next step. All right, so our next sheet is going to go through every single employee by name or number, and we're going to compute their regular hours times their rate of pay and their overtime hours times their rate of pay. Their overtime rate is called time and a half. So it's whatever their regular rate is times 1.5, because that's time and a half. So if you made $9 an hour, you multiply that times 1.5. So that person made $13.50 an hour overtime. Okay, so if they made 80 hours at $9 an hour, multiply it and you get $720. Remember a minute ago I told you $9 an hour times, it tells you right here, paid at 1.5 times the regular rate. That's always, that never changes. Overtime is time and a half. So you take the regular rate times 1.5, and I got $13.50 an hour. Multiply $13.50 an hour times 5 hours, and they made $67.50 in overtime. All right, so their total earnings is going to be their regular time plus their overtime. Okay, and you add those two together and you get $787.50. All right, the next person, they made $12.50 an hour. Their regular hours were 80 hours. So 80 times $12.50 an hour is $1,000. Okay, overtime. If they made $12.50 an hour, we multiply that times 1.5, that's overtime, and we get $18.75 an hour. They worked 3 hours overtime, so that will equal $56.25. Add the two together, and that's $1,056.25. All right, the next person, they only work 70 hours, so they don't even have any overtime. They make $9.75 an hour, so they made $682.50 if you multiply them together. They made 0 overtime, so their total pay is $682.50. All right, employee number 4. Well, that's the one that we did on the page before. So let's look over here and see what we get to. Remember, they had 88 regular hours, and they had 7 hours and a half in overtime. So we put 88 hours here. We put 7.5 here. That's how much overtime that they made, 7.5 hours. We're getting it right from their time card there. All right, this person makes $11 an hour. 11 times 88 is $968. Okay, they made overtime, so $11 an hour is what they make, times 1.5, that's overtime, is $16.50 an hour. That's their overtime pay, times 7 hours and a half hours of overtime that they made, and that is $123.75. Add that to his $968, and you get $1,091.75. Okay, hopefully that's understandable. I'm going to grade it. Hopefully I didn't typo anything. Looking good. And that completes 12-1 Work Together.